What can you accidentally find in an abandoned psychiatric hospital? How about an ancient cave where the walls glow and organ music echoes out of nowhere? Or what would be your reaction if, buying an old abandoned house, you find a baby mummy under the threshold? I'll show you the most mysterious and frightening places in the world, and believe me, the stories there are appropriate. And let's start with a classic of mystical places. In 1926, a clinic opened in Norway capable of accommodating up to 700 patients. However, by 1985, 4 of its buildings were abandoned for mysterious reasons. During their operation, rather controversial experiments on people were conducted there. Researchers tested new medical drugs in patients, including LSD, as well as questionable treatment methods such as electroshock and brain research, hoping to advance science. Unfortunately, these experiments led to tragic consequences. More than 2,500 people, including children, died from the pain caused by lobotomy and electrotherapy. Today, in these abandoned buildings, you can still see antique beds, medical equipment, and even personal belongings of former patients. At the same time, the remaining 8 buildings of the clinic continue to operate, but even patients with mental disorders are afraid to approach the old buildings. Local residents sometimes talk about strange lights visible in the windows of abandoned buildings. Creepy, isn't it? And who among us hasn't dreamed of being in the shoes of the hero of a glamorous movie about the lives of the rich and famous, strolling through luxurious mansions? Many even cherish the hope that they would suddenly inherit an incredible mansion from a distant relative of a great-grandmother. So, the relatives of Michael Halberian, who passed away in 2011, encountered such luck. They inherited the famous Steinway Mansion, a grand mansion in the heart of New York with 27 rooms furnished with expensive antiques, which was built in 1858 and acquired by the Steinway family in 1873. The decision to sell the house came quickly. It was the simplest way to divide the inheritance. However, the real shock came to the heirs when an auctioneer assessing the contents of the mansion horrifyingly discovered in one of the trunks voodoo masks made of pigskin and a doll surrounded by rusty nails. These grim artifacts could be part of dark rituals. This discovery shocked the heirs so much that they were speechless for a long time, trying to understand what secrets their relative Michael Halberian had hidden. Auctioneer Michael Capo said of the find, "This thing has energy, and I'm not sure it's good." This discovery added mystical tones to the mansion, which ultimately lost potential buyers. And would you like to see something even more frightening? In the depths of Italian Parma, in Emilia-Romagna lies a forgotten psychiatric clinic where time has stopped amidst shabby walls and yellowed ceilings. Here, among old iron beds and wheelchairs, you can see something unusual: graffiti depicting ghostly creatures, as if the souls of diseased patients crawling on the walls and floor, trying to stay in this world. The creator of these mystical drawings is street artist Herbert Baglione, who decided to turn the abandoned space into a canvas for his project, 1000 Shadows. Working in a palette of white, black, and gold, Baglione explores themes of human imperfection, such as obesity and anorexia, as well as deep feelings of anger, loneliness, and fear. This place, once left in oblivion, now attracts tourists with its unique art objects, becoming a magnet for those seeking unusual and exciting experiences. However, staying there at night is strictly prohibited, as the place, even without frightening drawings, has a bad reputation. Remember when I mentioned the baby mummy? In July 2007, Bob Kinghorn from Toronto, simply drilling a hole in a beam for wiring, accidentally stumbled upon something unexpected. Perhaps he even dreamed of finding some trinkets or coins, but instead found an old newspaper bundle. Opening it, Kinghorn discovered a small child's body inside, filling the room with an unpleasant smell. The child was so small that Kinghorn compared its size to that of his 4-month-old baby wrapped in a newspaper page with only the legs sticking out. Later, it was revealed that the found child had died back in 1925 and the cause of death was natural, not violence. However, the exact circumstances that led to such a sad outcome remained unknown. I imagine what it's like to live in that house now. But if you think that only a house or an abandoned psychiatric hospital can be frightening, what will you say about a whole city? On the coast of Taiwan, a luxurious resort was planned to be built, the dream of local tycoons. However, from the very first day, the project was doomed to failure due to mysterious events. Builders, one after another, found their death at the construction site. Some broke their necks falling from a great height despite safety ropes. Others died under the debris of collapsed cranes. Local residents soon began to say that the land here was unclean, linking it to a horrifying past, recalling the Japanese death camp that once stood right here. Over time, these scary stories only solidified in the minds of the people, and by the end of the 1980s, construction suddenly stopped. The built apartments remained without owners. The government, in turn, refused to demolish the unfinished town, believing that it could release evil spirits that, according to rumors, still roam among the vacant buildings. Thus, a place intended for luxury and relaxation turned into a grim symbol of local legends and superstitions. But let's move on. The Church of St. George in the village of Lukova, Czech Republic, is a grim reminder of a tragedy that occurred in 1968. During a funeral service, a fire broke out, causing the roof to collapse and resulting in the deaths of people inside. Several dozen people, can you imagine? Since then, the building has remained abandoned, but strange moans could be heard at night. Tourists tended to avoid the church. However, an unusual art installation by artist Jakub Hadrava once again drew attention to this place. He filled the church with statues made of white fabric resembling shrouds. These figures, arranged in the poses of praying clergy, create an impression of solemn prayer, adding a special gloominess and mystery to the atmosphere. This site is so frightening that official tours are not organized here, but many tourists visiting the Czech Republic now seek to see this eerie monument of art and history for themselves. Poveglia Island, located near Venice, is known for its grim history. For many decades, it served as a quarantine zone for those afflicted with the plague. The authorities of Venice did not bother to create a cemetery. Instead, they cremated the bodies in mass graves. Over time, the number of deceased was so great that, according to scientists' estimates, the soil of the island is composed of 50% human ash. Terrifying, isn't it? But the island's gruesome stories did not end with the plague. In the early 20th century, a psychiatric hospital was built here whose patients complained of ghosts of the deceased. Rumor has it that the chief physician of this hospital conducted experiments on his patients, eventually throwing himself from the bell tower, which still stands on the island and serves as a beacon. The abandoned hospital with bars in the windows, remnants of beds and medical instruments, is preserved on the island, creating a chilling atmosphere. This site is definitely not for the faint-hearted, and Poveglia Island continues to attract those seeking thrills and interested in the dark side of history. I'm not sure I would have the courage to go there, just like the next place I'll tell you about. The island of the Dolls in Mexico, located among the canals of the Xochimilco district near Mexico City, is shrouded in a grim legend. Julian Santana Barrera, a hermit who chose this island as a secluded refuge, once found the drowned body of a little girl along with her doll. According to legend, to appease the spirit of the girl, Julian began to hang dolls on trees throughout the island. Since then, the place has become a tourist attraction. Visitors bring dolls to add to the creepy collection. The tragic irony of Julian's fate is that in 2001, he was found dead, drowned in the same place where the girl was found. Today, the Island of the Dolls continues to attract tourists, but the experience of visiting is far from joyful. It seems that hundreds of empty doll eyes are watching your every step, creating an atmosphere of inevitable eerie presence. Now, I understand where those American horror movies come from. Château Miranda, a magnificent neo-Gothic castle in southern Belgium near the French border, once exuded splendor and grandeur, but today it stands before us in ruins. But you might ask me, what's wrong with it? During the French Revolution, the Lier family was forced to leave it and hide on a neighboring farm, awaiting the end of the Revolutionary Massacre, when anyone who fell into the hands of the enraged mob was killed. After World War II, the castle found a new purpose as a summer camp for orphaned children run by the Belgian National Railway Company until the 1980s. However, with rising maintenance costs in 1991, the castle was abandoned, and after a fire in 1995 which destroyed part of the roof, all valuable elements, including parquet and Italian marble, were transported to another castle in Italy. Even children who once rested at the camp remembered strange groans and howls at night. At the moment, despite proposals to turn it into a hotel, Château Miranda remains empty. The Lier family even filed an official request for its demolition, considering this place cursed. And now look at this once magnificent Greek Revival mansion in Uniontown, Alabama. And yes, its tragic past perfectly matches its gloomy appearance. In January 1994, beneath the porch of the Hardy Coleman house, better known online as the house where Lucy was killed, the remains of 13-year-old Alan Lucy were found. Alan lived in this house with his adoptive parents, Philip and Margaret Lucy, and disappeared without a trace in May 1985. In the following months, Jason Lucy, Philip and Margaret's biological son, told classmates that his father killed Alan and buried him in the yard of the house. For many years, no one believed Jason's stories, although rumors about the Lucy family circulated in town long before Alan's disappearance. Even decades later, after Alan Lucy's killer was brought to justice, the house failed to restore its reputation. Here is another eerie place, Villa di Vecchi, the witch's house if you will. Located near Lake Como in Italy, it was built from 1854 to 1857 as a summer residence for Count Felix di Vecchi. The family managed to spend only a few years there due to the tragedies that followed immediately after construction. First, a year after completion, the architect died. Then in 1862, Count di Vecchi returned home to find his wife murdered and his daughter missing. After a year of searching, unable to find her, the Count took his own life. After his death, the house was occupied by his brother, and his family continued to live there until World War II. Since the 1960s, the villa has been abandoned, and in 2002, an avalanche destroyed all the houses in the area except this one. Spooky, isn't it? Here's another remarkable place located in the American state of Wyoming, Devil's Tower. According to legend, its construction is attributed to the devil himself. In terms of size, Devil's Tower surpasses the Great Pyramid of Giza by 2.5 times, which adds to its mystery. Local residents have always regarded this place with awe and fear, exacerbated by rumors of mysterious lights flickering at the mountain's summit. Devil's Tower has become a popular location for filming science fiction movies, including Steven Spielberg's famous film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Only 2 people have conquered the mountain's summit. The first was a local resident in the 19th century, and the second was climber Jack Durrance in 1938. Aircrafts cannot land in the summit due to strong winds in the area. An attempt by experienced parachutist George Hopkins to conquer the summit turned into a real ordeal. He successfully landed, but the ropes descending from above were damaged by sharp rocks. As a result, Hopkins found himself trapped by Devil's Tower. His rescue turned into a national event. Planes circled the mountain, dropping food and equipment, but most of the cargo simply crashed into the rocks. Moreover, there were many rats on the summit, which became increasingly aggressive at night. Even experienced climber Ernst Field, who was called in, said the rock was not his cup of tea. In the end, Jack Durrance, the local who conquered the summit, returned and led the rescue operation along his unique route. After a week trapped by the rock, Hopkins was rescued thanks to the efforts of climbers under Durrance's leadership. It's amazing how people can climb Everest without a problem, but Devil's Tower is another story. In the Czech town of Jihlava, located in South Moravia, there are catacombs surrounded by a mystical aura. Created in the Middle Ages, these underground labyrinths have attracted those seeking the mysterious and the unknown over the centuries. Among the local legends, one stands out. According to which, at midnight, sounds of an organ began to emanate from one of the corridors. Ghosts and other supernatural phenomena have often been noticed here, which for a long time were the subject of skepticism among scientists. In 1996, an archaeological expedition arrived in Jihlava and made astonishing discoveries. Scientists confirmed that the sounds of the organ were indeed audible in the place the legends speak of, although there are no rooms where the organ could physically be located within 30 feet around. This rules out the possibility of a random mistake or misunderstanding. Psychologists, examining eyewitnesses, ruled out mass hallucination. But the most sensational find was the glowing staircase discovered in one of the previously unknown underground passages. Despite the absence of phosphorus in the material, the staircase emits a mystical reddish-orange light that does not diminish even when the flashlight is turned off. There are plenty of spooky places out there, believe me. By the way, if you're interested in such topics and know how to write scripts, edit, or do voiceovers for videos, then write to our Telegram bot via the link in the description. You might join our team, and thanks for watching.